Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jeff from Wickedoilcom. I am an AMSOIL dealer in Madison, Tennessee, which is basically North Nashville. I want to create a series for teaching people something that seems to be really lacking in our life these days, our lives. And just so you know, I'm doing this from the hip, shooting from the hip, as they say. I don't have a bunch of fancy software to edit all the little, hiccups and all that other stuff, or me swatting a mosquito. But anyway, what I want to teach is I want to teach people how to think. I know that seems silly because we don't think, but there are those people that we see, that we run into, and we're kind of like, I don't think they know they're supposed to be thinking. Okay, we are bombarded daily with people telling us what to think, and that's not good. What we need is people teaching us how to think. What you think, the content of what you think, is important, but it needs to be based upon information that you take in, that you consider, and you form what you consider to be a reasonable opinion based upon that information. Now, if you come to the wrong conclusion, that's fine, because coming to the wrong conclusion is not necessarily a bad thing if you got there by thinking. Now, if you listen to somebody spreading their rhetoric, and like all of us, somebody tells you a story about some given subject, and it sounds good. What you tend to do is you file it away in your mind, and then over time and repetition, if it's not challenged by yourself or someone else's thinking, if you just take it as settled fact, then at some point it becomes part of your, how should we say it, your base programming, kind of like your prime directive, as they like to call it in these futuristic movies. And if it's good information, that's fine. But we are being fed so much crap these days. I mean, just absolute nonsense. And I don't want to make this a political pissing match with anybody, but it's February 28th of 2021, and Joe Biden, God, that man opens his mouth and there's nothing but garbage comes out, okay? And this isn't an attack on him per se. I'm pointing out, this is a prominent public figure, and when somebody runs their mouth, it doesn't matter if it's the president, it doesn't matter if it's your employer, it doesn't matter if it's your best friend, your wife, your husband, your children, the neighbor, the person that you're standing in line with at the grocery store. They're running their mouth about nonsense, and these days people are afraid to even have an opinion. And if they do have an opinion, as soon as somebody expresses a different opinion, they start changing theirs. They start kind of curving it around so that they're in line with the other person, because they're so afraid of being publicly ridiculed and being seen as, one of them, whatever those thems happen to be at the moment. And, this is all based in faulty information, okay? It's based in garbage. When I was a kid, I didn't pay attention to the news because I was a kid. But I do remember, I'm fixing to be 58 in about a week. Just so you have an idea. We're talking a while back. I remember like Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and people like that. They would give you the news, and I'm not saying they never injected any opinion, but because you don't even have to say the words. You can inject your opinion with your body language. But my point is this: they would pass out, whatever the news was. And I'm not saying it was the best content of news. I'm just simply saying they didn't go on there and get in this, the way they do now, this body language, and they're like, oh my God, like President Trump hates women, and here's why. When President Trump is a rich playboy, don't think he hates women. In fact, from what I've seen, I think he likes women a lot. I don't just mean, attraction wise. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff for women. But no matter how you play this, no matter what your opinion is, that's not what's important here. What's important is that you take in information and you assess it, you see how close it is to your perception of reality, and you form your opinion. Now, if you do that again, and you come up with shall we say, a faulty conclusion, that's not the end of the world. What's the end of the world is if you decide what your opinion is today is the final word, and everybody else is an idiot because they don't believe the way you believe. That's when it becomes a problem. Now, I started what I call waking up back in 2000. I was 36 years old. I'd been living in the dream world that we all have to escape as we're growing up. And it was kind of like, if you will, Neo in the Matrix. I knew that there was more to this game than what I had been presented with, but I didn't know where it was, and I didn't know how to find it. And no, nobody showed up my door with a white rabbit on their shoulder or anything like that. What happened is a friend of mine asked me to do some research for him that he was, in my opinion, too lazy to do for himself. And it started me on a roller coaster of learning. And now, basically 20 years later, almost 21 years now, I'm at a place where, in my opinion, I'm pretty good at pointing out BS pretty fast, and it pisses a lot of people off if I point it out, which I don't go around just pointing it out, but if somebody's blatant about it, I don't have any problem pointing it out. So, but here's the deal: if you're going to get to the point in your life to where you're not being led around by your emotions, by faulty information, by people that are outright trying to take advantage of you for financial gain or narcissistic gain or whatever control it is they're trying to get over you, you're going to have to learn to stop being influenced by nonsense. Now, I know that's a hard one. It is. I get it. It was hard for me to come out of it. In fact, I probably spent, realistically, about 10 years kind of learning all the stuff that I didn't need to know to get to a point where there are a lot of things that I did need to know. But now that's normal. It doesn't matter what, shall we say, rabbit that you're chasing. There is that point where you have to figure out, all this stuff I've been learning right here, that, it's good information to know, but that's not really at the core of the issue, so to speak. And I know I'm speaking in generalities here, but that's because I'm speaking on broad subjects. Okay, when we get to talking about a specific subject, I will be speaking in specific terms. Okay, this is just part of the buildup here. The buildup. This is part of the foundation of this series. Okay, what I want you to understand is that learning to think, is just like building up that muscle right there. Okay, you know, if you don't use it, well, it's going to be a little muscle. Okay, but you start using that muscle, and it gets bigger and it gets stronger and your work becomes easier. Well, it's the same way with your brain. Your brain it's not a muscle like this, but it responds the same way. You know, neurons that fire together, I can't remember how the saying goes, but anyway, that's how you build thoughts. When you see A and you realize that it goes with B and it equals C, you have neurons that create these pathways, and it may look like a tangled mess if you were actually looking at it, but this is what's going on. They make connections. They go, oh, well, when this happens, this is the result over here, okay? And then that triggers this over here when this situation arises, okay? Your brain has got all this stuff going on. The problem with most people these days is that we're being fed, pardon my language, this bullshit. Okay, from the time we wake up till the time we're laying on the pillow, and then we're dreaming about that bullshit all night long, keeping us awake. Because, I mean, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, okay, and I hope that's what we're going to do here. Let's be honest, okay. The biggest problem with people these days is not that they're stupid. I mean, some are. Some people just don't want to learn. I mean, they are just stuck on, oh, somebody said it and it sounded good, and therefore everybody else is a horse's patootie because they don't see things my way, okay? Let's try to get away from that, okay? What our biggest problem is that we're being fed lies and told that it's truth, okay? And that ain't working, okay? That is not working, folks. I hope you'll agree with me. That's not working. So here's what I suggest. I want you to try a little exercise, and we're already at 12 and a half minutes here. I don't want to make these, big, long lectures videos because nobody wants to sit for all that. It's better to be in little bites. So I'm going to try to keep them 15 minutes at a whack. Something you can listen to on the way to work, so to speak, or home, or maybe you can listen at work. That's what I do all day. But anyway, what I want you to do is starting tomorrow, okay? Whatever tomorrow is for you right now. You go to work or you're interacting with people or whatever. Instead of being quick to agree with somebody, especially somebody that you don't agree with, but you don't want to have a confrontation, you don't want them to think you're one of them or any of that stuff, why don't you try this? Just listen, okay? I mean, if you want to give a nod of approval just so that there's no tension, that's fine. But instead of agreeing with them, instead of just listening and going, oh yeah, gosh, that sounds like a great story, therefore it must be true, I want you to just listen, and whatever it is, whatever that sticks out in that conversation to you, doesn't matter if it's political, religious, or any other thing, I want you to give yourself time to chew on it. Let it mull around in the back of your brain. If it needs to be for 10 minutes, then do it for 10 minutes. If it needs to be for a day or a week or a month, that's fine. This is not a race, okay? But I want you to think about what's said, and I want you to actually spend some time and decide, that thing that person was saying, does it make sense, or does it just sound good? Or does it sound reasonable enough that I'm not going to have an opinion? Or am I going to have an opinion, but I'm afraid for anybody to know that I have that opinion? okay? I want you to evaluate what's being said, okay? Because, sorry, my battery's getting low on my phone. I've made numerous videos today. Please forgive me for this. See, I told you I'm doing this from the hip. Anyway, this is the first homework, okay? I want you to just think about what's being said, or you can think about something that somebody said before. Something that's, I'm sure we all have plenty of times when there's some thought rolling around in your head and you're like going, dude, I don't know. I don't have enough information to make a judgment call, but I do have enough information to decide if it sounds reasonable, okay? But no matter what you decide, no matter what you take in, I want you to keep this one thing in mind, okay? It doesn't matter. It's no slight upon your character if tomorrow or next week or next year or a decade from now you get new information on the subject and you have to reevaluate your beliefs, okay? Because that's the true sign of learning. That person that does that, that's the person that's smart, okay? And like I said, I want to cut this short. I'm trying not to make these long-winded videos. It's kind of hard not to, okay? But I want you to just think, okay? And I want you to, whatever you take into your mind as some kind of a settled fact, I want you to always leave room, just a little bit of room, for the opportunity that maybe what you're taking as the gospel truth, so to speak, is not necessarily the gospel truth. Now, it may be close. It may be in the ballpark, as they say. But let's keep something in mind. Maybe that's not the dead-on truth, okay? And I'm going to leave it at that because we're fixing to hit 18 minutes. And I definitely don't want to make these over 20 minutes because I want you to learn this stuff in bite-sized chunks, okay? Because the worst thing we can do is overload you with a bunch of crap and you don't know what to think, because that's the problem we're all having, is we're getting overloaded with crap and we're just like, I don't know what to believe. Okay? And here's my closing remarks, okay? If you like what's being taught, okay, if you appreciate what's being taught, please go to my website, Wickedoilcom. I'll put a link down here. And look on the left side of the screen, and there is a box there. You can pick like car and light truck, or if you have a big truck, like a commercial truck, or motorcycles, ATVs, PUCs, all this stuff. You can look up products for it, and we can even fix you up and get 25% off your purchases, okay? And if you purchase, I don't remember what the current promotion is right now, but generally if you spend $100, which it's nothing to spend $100 these days, you get free shipping too, so that's a great one. And it only takes a couple of days, usually about 3 days to get your stuff, unless you're real close to one of the distribution centers. But anyway, thank you, have a great day, and please remember, think, okay? Think. This right here is what's going to save our country, folks, and it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on or what side of the religious spectrum or anything else. No matter what your gig is in life, use this, develop this. Please, don't do it for me. I mean, do it for me too, but do it for you. Think, okay? Think. This comes first. This is ground zero right here. Think, okay? Thanks, and have a good one.